fuck are you, Che Guevara?
Urmatorol.
All right. All right. So, David, it's a pleasure to finally meet you. I saw Stampila, and I gotta say, this might be one of my favorite films of the year. I mean, I've never seen, first of all, a Moldovan American co-production. I know it's the first one, but the story itself was really fascinating to hear. Even though I felt like it was done maybe as a comedy of sorts in some ways, but other than that, it was a great film.
Yeah, it was like a political satire, so trying to kind of poke fun, using humor to poke fun at sort of the existing system in a former Soviet country. But yeah, I tried to have some fun parts and then tried to, make a real change with it. I tried to actually, make a movie that would, the making of the movie itself would cause some political change. That was the idea. I was inspired by, I don't know if you ever saw this, there's this Ben Affleck movie where they go to like the Middle East and in Iran and they sneak, they claim they're making this movie and they sneak these American citizens out of the country while doing the while filming the movie, making their fake movie. So I was really impressed by that idea, and I thought, well, I'll make a real movie. But while I'm there, make it about something that you shouldn't shoot about, you're not allowed to shoot about, and then just do it very, very quickly, and hopefully not get caught. And we shot the provocative scene, which is that revolution scene, all in one day at the very end, and by then, kind of cat's out of the bag. But we had hundreds and hundreds of protesters,
Wow.
in front of their main office of government. Like that'd be like right outside the White House, right? Like protesting. And it wasn't until just 2 months ago I went back to Moldova for the premiere. And this is in a country we snuck the movie out of, right? And now I'm back there watching the movie and it's in the theater. And afterwards, this guy comes up to me in a suit and he says, "Hey, I really wanted to meet you because I'm the guy who was in charge of investigating you, back when you made the movie.
Oh, man.
And if I caught you, if I knew what you were really doing, I would have stopped you. I would have, I suspected you guys were doing this, but I didn't have the proof until the very end, and then you had already moved and you already left." He said, "If I caught you, I would have arrested you. But I'm really glad I didn't catch you because now that the oligarch was gone, the fellow oligarchs also had to leave, and so things changed, and kind of country's flourishing pretty well, doing well, and so he was really happy. It was just cool it was a weird, cool film movie moment, to have that happen.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, that must have been crazy to shoot while this whole government was still in control.
It
And
was wild, yeah.
you had such a great cast in this movie. And I like the fact that I never even knew that there were American like consultants involved in that whole thing. I never
Right.
realized that. But I gotta say, the guy who played Jerry did such a great job because he was such a sleazeball throughout the entire film. But I
He
like,
was great. Yeah, he was great. So I based him on two characters. One is Richard Grenell, who I'll get back to him in a second. Actually, the first one you probably heard of, it's Paul Manafort. So Paul Manafort was worked for oligarchs in Ukraine, trying to help Russia take over Ukraine. And after that, he left to get a new job, which was campaign manager for Donald Trump when he ran for president.
yeah,
And then, after Donald Trump became president, he took another guy, Richard Grenell, who was the consultant helping the oligarch in my film, and he made him the head of national intelligence, which is the boss of the CIA, right? So
yeah.
two different guys who helped oligarchs stay in power. he, you know, and the first guy, his campaign manager, is now in prison, but then Trump pardoned him actually on his last day in office, so he got out of prison. But Paul Manafort was supposed to do like 8 years in prison for corruption. Because
Oh
these
man,
guys, they basically work for these oligarchs and then they launder the money or steal money, right? Or like they don't want to
yeah.
pay taxes on it. Because you have to, if you're going to work for a foreign country, you have to register as an agent for a foreign government. So these guys try to do it under the radar and not register, and
No.
just work for a foreign power without telling anybody. And they always work for the slimiest guys because they're the guys who will pay the most, right? So these American consultants are working for like warlords in Africa and helping them stay in power and scumbag guys and that you never want to be associated with, right? So
Yeah.
I wanted to shine a light on that too. So this wasn't just like America's good, we saved the day. There's an American guy who at the end helps them win, but he was there to do bad. And I try to point out the stuff Americans do that's we don't even know about here. I wanted to kind of spread some awareness on the American side too. We're not innocent for this stuff.
Yeah, and I like the fact that I got to learn more about Moldova as a whole through Preston's eyes, because here he is hired to do this bad job, but as he met Anastasia, he changes his tune. It's not. I know that he's kind of had a thing for her, but at the same time, he was. It felt like he was genuinely learning about the country, like what it's all about, and that's what
Yeah.
ultimately makes him change his mind. I think that was fantastic because it felt like this can give Americans like an idea of what Moldova is all about.
Oh yeah, I definitely saw it as a love letter to Moldova. I wanted people to to appreciate it. Sorry, I'm in Montreal and they have these speakers saying something in French behind me. But yeah, the I wanted him to kind of show the good things about Moldova. It's they make amazing wine now. Ever since they left the Soviet Union, the Soviets used to like this very sweet wine, these like very heavy grapes. They've ripped them all out. It's been 15 years, and their new grapes have matured, and the Moldovan wine is actually very very good. So it's starting to spread, and I wanted to put that in the film. They have the largest wine cellar in the world in their country. Strategic wine reserves from different countries are all in this wine cellar. So like different, Austria has a few thousand bottles in reserve. It's just crazy that this worked. But fascinating culture, beautiful people, very friendly. It was really a wonderful time filming it. So I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad that
Yeah.
you got to know of it.
And I also want to talk about Irina Rusu because she did such a great job in the lead role of Olga, this very conflicted person who, she's the deputy director of the tax service, but yet once, she has these flashbacks that we see like her husband was against the government and, he was inspired by Frank Lloyd Wright of all people, which I
Right.
think, and then when her son ends up being collateral to make sure she's doing her job, I liked what she did, like just said, let's just approve everyone. And I like how she took the baby steps to ultimately join that revolution. And she did such a fantastic job on the film. How did you discover her to cast as?
She was so most of my actors were first time on film. They have a very proud tradition of theater, so they're all theater actors. So if you want to be an actor or an actress in Moldova, you're basically doing Chekhov, or you're doing Russian theater, or you're doing some classic plays. And so I had to hire all theater actors, which is a little bit tricky because theater actors act big, right? They don't have close-ups in the theater. So
Right.
you have to like, put it all on your face. They're huge expressions so the audience in the back row can see you. So basically for all these actors, I'm like, look, you have to dial it down. I need you much smaller than you're being right now, right? But they're all really good and they're all very brave because the theaters is paid for by the government. And, the oligarch said, all right, tell these actors, anyone who acts in this movie will never act in another government theater production ever again in Moldova. And they were like, we don't care.
Yeah.
So that was the threat they gave to all these actors is like, if you're in this movie, you'll never work again in Moldova. And this is a country where the only work is stage work. And so what was amazing was none of them gave in. They were like, really? Okay, well, here's what we're going to do. Once we had our locations canceled, they gave us access to the union, the actors union. They had a whole building, and all the actors were like, you come in here and we're going to film here. And they had to do a lot to get in there. If they're going to come get us in here, they're going to have to send in the troops to get us.
Oh,
So we felt very safe. And it was like, yeah. And that was like, towards the very end. And then we had our
yeah.
final
Like
revolution scene.
like an irony, you see her like getting caught by the military police. Like, they're coming, the troopers coming in. Like I found it such ironic that you were talking about that. And then there's that scene where when
Exactly.
the protest
In real
happened.
life, all these actors are doing what they're pretending to be doing in real life, right? They're actually all stand up against the government because the government's telling them you can't be in this. And they're like, no, we're going to. It was wild. And then just 6 months later, there was a election and the oligarch relies on this one party he controls behind the scenes. That's why they call him Papasharu, which means the puppet master.
Yeah.
And it's all on the website if you want to see the backstory. It's kind of crazy. But his party lost unexpectedly. All the people turned out. They refused kind of bribe money in order to vote for him. And then he had to split, and he evacuated the country on 4 private jets. Took his whole entourage, took all the money, and split. Now he's in Turkey. Another oligarch. There was apparently they said that day there was the most jet traffic in like the history of Eastern Europe. Right, all these private jets are leaving the country with all the oligarchs on them and all the wealth. Right, trying
Oh
to
man.
get away. And now they're all wanted for crimes in Moldova. If they return, they're going to prison. So it's just wild. Yeah.
So how long did you shoot the film? Like I know you said you did it fast because you had to go the guerrilla style, but how long did you actually shoot the film for?
We
And
had 21 shooting days. So 6 days a week, which is like as intense as you can kind of go. We
Yeah.
also shot French hours, which is like where you do a working lunch. You basically get a sandwich as French hours, and you just go. And we pre-production was a few months, so we were there on the DL, just quietly scouting locations, doing auditions, and getting deeper and deeper into the culture. And then once you're ready to go, though, it was just boom, 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 21 shooting days. So it's basically 4 weeks.
Did you so aside from getting investigated, were there any other issues that you faced during the shooting
Oh
at all?
yeah, I got followed. There was like a black SUV that parked in front of our production office and just watched us. Um, our producer was called in by the Ministry of Internal Affairs twice. And that's like their FBI version. It's called in for questioning. And then it towards the end, I guess the oligarchs decided to send his enforcer, say just shut these guys down. And fortunately, the enforcers, he's like the head of a private security division.
Mhm.
Apparently, his wife is a singer, and my producer had produced her music videos. So the wife convinced him, "Hey, look, it's okay. It's not this. It's just a satire. They're just making it art.
Yeah.
Let them go." And that's, I think, why we're not dead.
Yeah, there you
Whatever.
go. That's the way to say it.
I don't think dead. I mean, just, probably kicked out and maybe in some big trouble, probably be in prison for a little bit or something like that.
Yeah.
But at this point now, everything's fine. That was years ago. He's out of the country and the people are moving ahead. Russia still wants to take control of Moldova along with Ukraine. And, they're still funding this one oligarch, one of the two that are in the movie. So, trying to what they do is they pay villagers with money and some sausage and have them come to hold signs. And it's like a fake army of protesters to try and remove the democratically elected government.
Yeah.
But I highlight the stuff in my film because I want people to see, look, these are the tricks that they do. This is how they build consensus. They show up with a bus in a village and go, "Who wants to go to the capital city? And here's a free sausage and here's $5." And
Yeah.
people are like, "Oh, cool, I'll get on the bus." Okay, just hold this sign and wear this scarf. It's all the same color or whatever, and now you're a protester.
Yeah, exactly. But the one scene I did like was during the protest when the riot police comes in and their mothers show up. I have to admit I know that seems serious in a way because it became the turning point of pretty much everything, but I couldn't help but laugh at that scene where the mothers are just you just see them like beating their sons because they're part of the riot police. I found that hysterical in a way because
Oh wow, man, I'm so glad you liked it. I had to. So those women, they wouldn't hit a police officer. And look, they're not police officers. These are they're actors wearing
yeah,
police clothes. And they're like, "Oh, we can't. I just can't do it because they're real. It's in my blood. I cannot hit a police officer. We'd be killed. I mean, it would be like death doing that."
yeah,
So I had to line them up, and I took each of their hands and I made them hit me in the face until they're used to hitting. Each of these old actor ladies, I made them hit me until they were like, "Okay, I'll hit." They're like, "Just stop making me hit you." And then they went and started hitting the police.
that was
So they did
good.
a good job. I was impressed. Yeah.
So are you currently looking for like a distributor for the film, like in the worldwide or anything?
Yeah,
Because
worldwide distribution anywhere would be great. I know there's a 5 million strong Moldovan diaspora, all around the world who hopefully would want to see it, and someone could probably put together a video on demand option for them and do pretty well. But that's not, I'm an artist director, so I'm not, really looking to do all that myself. But if somebody comes along and says, "Hey, I have an idea how we can, you know, uh, distribute this film," then I'm all ears. And yeah, just I want the more people to see it, the better. The more people learn about this stuff, the
I
better.
I think people need to see this movie, not just for the history of what's going on in the film, but the fact that you braved it and you could pretty much say in a way you helped make the whole thing happen and through the film, and I think that's an importance that people should know about.
I hope so. So I don't want to take credit for obviously the whole thing, but I
Right.
take credit for helping. I definitely
Yeah,
was a
for
helper,
helping, exactly.
and I'm proud of what we did. And yeah, hopefully people find out about it, and yeah, we can go to some festivals, and yeah, I'm just looking forward to people seeing this and learning about politics a little bit more too. Trying to make politics interesting because if politics are boring and we don't pay attention, then we get.
Yeah, exactly. So are you working on another film down like is this something next for you that you can talk about or
Yeah, I'm always working on stuff. I'm trying to do so I shot this. I'm not a fluent Romanian speaker, but I had to learn the script in Romanian just so I could make this. And
Mhm.
I used to speak some Russian from my time in the Peace Corps, so I could direct in Russian. But I want to do my next film in Chinese. So I'm working on Chinese. I've been studying the language pretty intensely for the last couple of years, and I'm just working on putting together a screenplay and doing like a walk and talk in Shanghai. So I'm working on something like that.
All right, cool. Well,
Yeah.
I hope if a distributor is watching this, they get to check out Stampilla and maybe get some sort of distribution deal because this I feel like this is an important film people need to check out. And
I appreciate that, man.
David, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and I hope that this does get some sort of worldwide recognition.
It's been a pleasure talking to you too. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this.
All right, well, you take care and you stay awesome.
All right, take care too, man.
All right,
Bye.
bye bye.